Hi everyone, welcome to the YouTube channel of Anthropology for UPSC by Simplified IAS Academy. And in this video series, we are discussing the Mains 2025 Anthropology Paper 1. And we are discussing this in parts. So this is the second part of the series. And today we are going to take up again few questions from paper 1 so that you are able to understand the demand, the trends, the themes, and accordingly frame your strategy for the upcoming mains. So, without wasting any time, let's get started. So, we will be discussing question number 2. Unlike question number 1, which was compulsory, question number 2 is not amongst the compulsory question, and you can either choose to write it or leave it and select some other blocks. Okay, but that is something related to the instructions. Now, let's assume that you have chosen this particular section. So, now let's talk about the question. It is asking you to discuss the Miocene hominoid remain and their significance in evolution. So, this question is kind of in straightforward the way it is being asked. But if you talk about whether this is forming a direct part of your syllabus, not really, but as an extension of your syllabus. Okay, because in your syllabus you're not studying directly about the Miocene hominoid, but you are definitely studying about the species which belongs to this epoch. Okay, and as you may see, even in our notes, also at various points, we have mentioned about Miocene epoch and the species related to it. So somebody who might be reading this note or maybe the other note, I'm sure, like definitely that must also have all these details. So it won't be a little difficult for you to answer this question even in the examination scenario. Okay, and as I said, this is forming a kind of a straightforward question where you can divide the body part into two, which is discussing about the Miocene hominoid and the significances of it. Okay, and of course the introduction and conclusion should be there, and in the introduction you can talk about what exactly is this Miocene epoch, what are the time period and everything, and the time period are everywhere mentioned. Okay, so that you can write in your introduction portion. Now coming to the body portion, as I said, you can talk about the Miocene hominoid, and as you may see, the Miocene like epoch can be divided into lower, middle, and upper, which is not shown in the screenshot, but you can divide it into lower, middle, and upper. And the lower, you'll find the most prominent species was the proconsuls. For the middle, or you can find Dryopithecus, Shivapithecus, they all belongs to this particular period. And then for the upper or the late Miocene, whatever you can call it, they were Gigantopithecus. I remember I have also discussed that in the video that I have made for this particular 1.6. Okay, so there also you will find the species related to it. Now talking about the significances, what are its significance in evolution? Now again, for the significances you need to go back to maybe your topic 1.4 as well, to show like how human evolution is like how human evolution is letting you know so many details about the past and everything, and how it is significant to us. So there you can talk about maybe like the mosaic evolution, because there you will find many of the species showing different traits at different point of time, so that you can show. Then you can show like how this evolutionary transition took place, maybe the changes in the dental arc or something. Also you can talk about the adaptability. Okay, and adaptability, as human adaptability you are studying in topic 9.7, but here also you can talk about the adaptability, like how the lower Miocene hominoid, maybe like the proconsuls, they were adapted to forests. Later on, when Dryopithecus, Sivapithecus came, they adapted to fixed kind of an habitat. So that also you can talk about as a significances over here. Also, you can talk about how all of these Miocene hominoid gives you the traces of the origin of the modern lineage, something like that. So these are the things you can write in the significances portion, and I'm sure you won't lack content over here. And then at the end you can conclude accordingly. So I think this is a manageable question for the exam point of view. Then your next question is a very direct question from your syllabus, which is asking you to compare and contrast the symbolic approaches of Clifford Church and Victor Turner to understand culture. So this question is being asked in your PYQs as well, and there are sufficient amount of content available for this. Even in our notes, we have mentioned about comparing both of these scholars. Okay, so you can say that this is something a direct part of your syllabus. So what matters here is like how well you're decoding the directives. See, directives forms a very important part of your answer writing when it comes to adhering to the demand of the question. So most of the time you should like try to adhere to it, but sometimes it might happen that you can diverge a little. That is fine. But for these kind of directives like compare and contrast, differentiate, you cannot miss it out. Okay. So here in this question, the make or break game is this only. Now, talking about the introduction, how it should be like. So there are mention of two scholars. So your introduction should also find some common ground and have a holistic one that covers both of them. So definitely you can write like both of these are anthropologists focusing on culture as a system of symbol, or they belongs to this school and that, something like that. Okay, then the body part, which forms the main soul of your answer. So this body part is aligned with your directives. So it is asking you to compare and contrast, which means you should do the comparison for both of these, and then you have to do the differences. Okay, comparison is like showing the similarities, and contrast is showing the differences. You can show the differences in their methods, focus, theories, studies, examples, whatever they have done. Then in your the conclusion part of it, you need to give the balance statement highlighting how both of them have enriched our understanding of culture. So you should always end upon a balanced note. You cannot favor one of them saying ki, okay, the Turner's approach was very good, or saying the Grich was not able to justify this or that. You can do as a part of limitation, as an additional dimension in your body itself, but for the conclusion, keep it balanced. So that's how you will be able to fulfill the demand of this particular question. Then your last question for this block is how political economy is integrated with ecological and adaptability perspective in biocultural anthropology. Seems complex, right? So these are the type of question you could say is asking you to apply your analytical skills and not just the theoretical one which you have read. Okay, and you could say that this is definitely an extension of your syllabus, because you will nowhere find in the complete syllabus these topics mentioned together and you can just like read it and answer it completely. It requires you to pick up parts and parcel from each of the topic and then combine it together. So firstly you need to identify that which is going to be your hero in this entire answer, and that will form the basis of your introduction. But even before that, you need to understand the meaning of the terms, which is kind of a new to you over here. Okay, like political economy, it is something new to you. Even the biocultural anthropology could be new to some of you. So firstly you need to decode what it means. So when you see political economy, so political economy is something you could say that how the power or the politics and the economy, when you say, it is something, the production, distribution and consumption, that's what we have studied even in the economy and over here as well. Like how this politics or power interact with this economy, which is production, distribution, consumption, to shape up the human lives. So power with economy shaping human life. Okay, so this is what this political economy is doing. So if you see the examples of it and try to make some more sense out of it, so even during the colonial period, their power was with the Britishers, and the economy was also being handled the way they wanted. And you know very well what was the condition of the people of India then. Similarly, if you just go and look at the examples of Paul Farmer, which is very much quoted everywhere. So Paul Farmer did his studies in Haiti. So there he find there was prevalence of TB and HIVs in the Haiti population, not just because of the poverty or the ecology or any of this thing like for that matter, but because of the structural violence that is being done over there by the people who are in power. Similarly, Nancy Hogges also does certain studies in Brazil, and she also found that the root cause of the high child mortality. So in Brazil, there were high child mortality rates. So she found that this child mortality was not just because of the malnutrition. Malnutrition was not just the one cause, but the structural economy, which means there the entire economy was dependent upon plantation, and because of that, every year you may not have that much of good crops, because of which there was poverty. So it was kind of a vicious cycle, okay? And everything, whether you are growing crops or not, and doing what and not, how the economy should be working, all of these is being decided by the people in power. So that is how, like, these example very well clarifies what this political economy means to you. Then you need to know, like, what is biocultural anthropology. So biocultural anthropology is something very simple: when the biology culture interact in a certain environment. So that is what you call the biocultural anthropology. So now you at least know the meaning of these, and by knowing this you can be able to break down the question further. So as of now, suppose like you have identified that you need to take a biocultural anthropology as something the hero over here, and include it in your introduction part. Now let's see the structure of this particular answer. So your introduction can take a tackle to the meaning of biocultural anthropology, of course. Then in your body part, you can briefly discuss about, since this is a 15 marker, don't stretch much, but you can discuss about what you mean by political economy and what you mean by ecological and adaptability. And I'm sure for ecological and adaptability, you may not face any issue because this forms the part of your direct syllabus. What do you mean by ecological and adaptability? And you have studied about Julian Stewart, cultural ecology and everything, so you will be better able to define it. Now comes to the heart of the question. So the heart of the question over here, which you need to deal in the body part, is that how you're linking these two, political economy with the ecological and adaptability, in the frame of biocultural anthropology. So definitely you can do that by using the examples which I have just given you. Okay. So suppose we take the example of the Paul Farmer study. So the Paul Farmer studied the Haitis, and he said like Haiti in they have the prevalence of HIV and TB. So this prevalence of HIV and TB is kind of a disease cluster, you could say, which could be because of the ecological condition or something else, but it get worsened with the structural inequality that is imposed due to the political economy, because the person in power or the people in power decide the way they want, and which is why it gets worse. That is one of the way you could use these example. The second example of the Nancy Hughes study, which I have just discussed with you. In that example also, if you see that child malnutrition in Brazil is there, and that is also because of the poverty and everything. But all of these poverty and the constrained diet and whatever it is there, it is also because of the global trade, the agricultural war, or the global war, trade war, and everything like that. So because of that, this Brazil malnutrition get further worsened. Okay, because the people are not having enough food over there, and not having enough food is not just because of their ecological condition, that they are not able to grow food or something like that. It is also because of the power politics that is playing around. So these are some of the examples you could use in this particular answer in your body part. And then linkages is more important, because until you're not linking it, you're not doing justice to this. Okay, so make sure that you do it and conclude it properly. So that's how you could tackle this particular question. Now, talking about the other question of this particular section, if you could see the question number 2B or 2A, as we have discussed, that something you can handle very well. You could feel a little difficulty only in this question number 2C, which again, if broken down well and if you play a little smart, because this Paul Farmer or Nancy Hughes examples and everything, we all have studied somewhere or the else. So if you're able to connect all of this, then you will be able to justify this question. And as I again said, Julian Stewart and everyone you can definitely quote. So you can able to do justice to this question. So somewhat, if the other question are not very much comfortable to you, this particular block can be chosen, and you can get a decent score as well. So that is my take for this block, and that's it for today. I will come up with the another block in the next video.